Hello and welcome everybody to our session today. It's my absolute pleasure to be with all of you as we chat about managing projects for the enterprise. So thinking about beyond just task management and getting into portfolio management, where it often gets a little bit more complicated. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Maria Marquis, and here at Coda, I focus on education and empowerment. I consider myself the chief cheerleading officer. That's my job. And I really love to sit down with makers and users like all of you and find some tips and tricks we can all use. Now, today, like I said, our focus is about taking a look at a doc that can get us started for enterprise level project management. But I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get involved today so we can all get what we need from today's session. So even though I've got some things I want to share with all of you, it's about you and your questions. So there's a couple ways you can get in touch with me. Over on the right, there's a chat field. A lot of you have found it already, which is fantastic. And just to let me know that we've all found that chat field, let me know, what are you currently using to manage your projects? So what are you currently using to manage your projects? Go ahead, post that over into the chat field so I know we've all found it. We all feel good about it. Coda, nice chase. Of course, silly question. Fantastic. Anybody else using anything else on their list of tools and tabs that might be taking up space? Coda and OmniFocus. Hey, Diane, welcome. Good to have you here. Nice, moving from Asana to Coda. Fabulous, Robin. Great. So notice that chat field is public. You can use that at any time today. I also want to make sure that if you have a question, it doesn't get lost. So if you have a question, you can post it to chat, but the better idea is to click on the Ask a Question button right below my face. That way I don't lose it, I can track it, and you can all see the questions that are being asked. So if you have the same question, you can upvote or downvote as far as you see fit there. The other thing I'd love to know by posting to chat is, what is the biggest challenge that you currently have managing projects? Because I can actually take some of the things we'll look at today, and I want to make sure I can adjust it to meet some of the challenges you might be having. So go ahead, post to chat for me. What are some of the challenges that you have when it comes to managing projects? What's hard? Or is it easy and we can just sit back and relax today? What is the biggest challenge that you have? Again, post to chat for me. Communication gap, for sure. Yeah, how can I get what's in my brain out to everybody else? Or maybe we're spread across different time zones. Totally, Mara, just getting others to adapt, right? How do we actually make the change happen? And I've got some tips and tricks we'll look at for that today. Beautiful. Yeah, same. Robin's in the same situation. Fabulous. Incorporating new requests via email or chat. Yeah, how do we actually bring it all together? Beautiful. All right, everybody. So just know, even though I'm talking today, there's no such thing as an interruption. So please, at any point in time, if you've got a question, let me know. Go ahead, post to chat. I'm going to share my screen, so you should see it in just a moment. And when you can, if you could just give me a yes, I can see it, looks good, some kind of signal in chat so I know that everybody is along for the ride. So if you can see my screen, if you just give me a yes or I can see it, fabulous. Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. Fabulous. Got a thumbs up from Robin. Beautiful. All right, so this doc, and I've actually posted a link to chat at the very top, and I'll post it at the end as well. This is really meant to be a starting point. Because as far as Coda goes, and any tool, the ability to customize and really make it your own is where it's going to be successful. So I'm going to walk you through kind of how this is put together, and then opportunities where you can customize it. The first thing that we want to do with any Coda doc, really, that's going to have any level of complexity, is figure out what are the different data types that we're working with. So what are we handling? What are we working on? What is the information that we need to process? So post to chat for me. If you think about managing projects at the enterprise level, thinking about a portfolio, what might be some of the things that you want to account for? Go ahead, post to chat. What might be on your list? And then I'll reveal what I've included as far as some things to do. What might you want to include here? What do you think? What's on your list? What do you need to track? All right, well, you don't have to tell me, but I want you to think about it. Some of the things that we definitely want to account for are people, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. Which team members have what due? Totally, Diane. I love it. But thinking about, who are the people that are engaging with this information? And how might I start to be able to work with that? Nice integration with your build tools, the projects, the status, who can see what? Totally, Robin. Yeah. Also thinking about maybe your projects have different phases that they go through. If you have a consistent type of implementation process, maybe you want to account for that. And then also thinking about the different types of projects that you might be working with. Because if we're thinking about this portfolio of projects, we want to be able to look at all of them and understand who's involved, where is it currently sitting, and then what might we need to adjust with it. Now, this is just a starting place, and you all can include whatever you want to track as well. But this is really thinking about what are the components we're going to put together. And we think about each of these as having their own table. So here you can see we've got a table for our teams. I've included a little image here. I've included a what they do, whoever their lead is. I've also included a bit of phases and just a bit of a pro tip for Coda. One of the things I love doing is notice we've just kind of highlighted this and then gone and given it a little color and highlighting. That way that can show up anywhere this is logged. So it gives a bit of a chip styling, which I think just looks kind of nice. And then we've got a same one here for the type. So maybe different types of projects we have are software, security, infrastructure, and vendor selection. Now, all of these are editable. So you could add more rows, you could add more columns. In this case, this table is just a single cell for each one of them. But this allows you to use this data everywhere else across your doc. And you could add further data tables here as you see fit, entirely up to you. So that's the first part. We just want to make sure we set it up so we have the right components that we can be working with. Because then this leads us to the next best practice, which is this idea of documenting what is important to you and how you get things done. Because maybe you plan on growing your organization. And I certainly hope that growth is something that all of us can see. But as we grow, we start to maybe lose some of that institutional knowledge that all of us know instinctually right now. Or maybe we want to just document how do we expect that work gets done so that we're communicating out to everybody and there's no questions about how we want to do anything. That's why I love to just create a page in my Coda docs that acts as this sort of strategy place. So I can outline my vision, the mission, the way that we get things done. And notice I've got a lot of just text here. I'm including a couple different styles. This is one of our more recent styling options, which is a quote block, which I really love. You just grab right from up here. And then I've got sort of different questions to ask. And you can also think about going beyond just your text and actually embedding information from other locations. So if you've got a Miro whiteboard, or if you have a presentation, or if you have a mode dashboard, you could be pulling all of those in by just embedding right here inside of Coda. Now, a best practice anytime you're working with something that has a lot of text or a really long page, I love to go to the options right up here. And I like to turn on this outline option. What that allows me to do is over here along the right side of my doc, notice I can just click on any of those headers and it jumps me right to that location. Also, just a reminder here today, you don't need to wait for me to stop talking. There is no such thing as an interruption in my virtual classes. So please let me know anytime you've got a question. Go ahead, post it to the Ask a Question area or just pop it over into chat. I want to make sure that I'm here to make sure you get all of your questions answered or at least a better idea of where to go next. But this idea of documentation so that you don't have to worry about who knows what, and did I tell that person something, or what are the expectations, are they clear? We're eliminating that here, particularly if you're working in a distributed team, right? Or a team that's growing, or if you really want to make sure that process stays true. So I love to have just this kind of intro area where you can document how you expect things to get done. You can put process in. Oh, and the other thing I just realized I should mention is you can actually hyperlink not only to other locations on the internet, but like we see here, you can hyperlink to different pages in your doc. So if you want to help people jump from area to area, you can have all of that built in. And the way that you do it is just by clicking on this little link icon up at the top, and you can go ahead and choose to insert whatever link you like, including just the name of a page, and it will automatically populate for you. So a bit of a pro tip there. So that's the first part, kind of setting up, getting our intention and documenting how we want to work. But then the next part is we want to think about how do we then actually manage the portfolio of projects. So what I've done here is I've created a projects page, and then I've created sub pages, and then in this case, sub pages for the different ways that we work with projects. So the first one here is this idea of just our project dashboard. So having an area where we can just see all of the projects that are currently on our plate and where they are. Now, if you remember, we did that setup option. This is why that's so important. This team column and this phase column are both looking up to those tables that we set up at the top. So for example, team, if I just click on this little lookup column, also my cat is like right here, really wanting to come and take a look at this screen because clearly there's something very fascinating on the screen that she'd like to see. So notice here I'm having this look up to our teams table so I can pull in all of that information. And then my phase, this is looking up to that phase table that we saw at the very beginning. And notice it's pulling in that color styling here as well. So this is kind of that overarching view. And what I like about it is we also have this area where people can post just a status update. So, hey, how are things going? And this is just a basic text field. And then what we've got is over here, this little last update column. This is actually a formula. So let's go ahead and take a look. You'll know there's a formula at play in any of your Coda docs when it has an F, like here. So I'm just going to give that a click. We're going to open it up, choose Edit Formula. And this is very straightforward. What we've got here is just, hey, the status update, when was it modified? And it's just going to pull in the date and the time so I can see that very clearly. The other thing that I think is helpful when we're thinking about a portfolio of projects is we might have teams with separate workspaces, right? So if we're thinking about managing this at a high level, that 10,000-foot view, we might want to have the ability to jump to those different kind of smaller level task trackers at any point in time. So what I've done here is I've included a button that allows me to go to that team's project doc. So if I want to go and take a look, or if I'm an executive, I can jump over there. And I want to show you how I made this happen. So I've actually hidden some columns, which hiding columns is always a great way to kind of keep it clean or keep kind of the process layer underneath the hood behind the curtain so people can't see it. So what I've done is I've included a doc link. So I'm going to go ahead and just unhide that so we can take a look. And this is an area where we could put the URL to the Coda doc, or maybe someone hasn't gotten onto Coda yet and they're still stuck in spreadsheet land. We can have a link to that spreadsheet here. But this allows me to then have this button open whatever link is put here. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the button is put together. So we go to this button options. Notice we're choosing the open hyperlink action. And then I'm just saying, hey, whatever the doc link in this row is, that's what I want this button to open. It'll open up in a new tab, and I can very easily jump on over there. So this is kind of that big dashboard view that someone who is maybe in IT or someone who's a PMM is able to look at everything that's currently in flight and then be able to jump wherever they need to go. So I really love to create this kind of overarching view, and then you can always hide those columns again. But this is really the combination of all those little setup processes that we took, but it lets us know the project, which team it's affecting, what phase it's in, who's responsible for it, and in general, how are things going, and I can always give it a jump to take a look. Now, here's the cool thing about this. You could just start with this. You wouldn't necessarily need to have the rest of this doc. This might be just the starting place, and then you could add further things. Awesome, I noticed we have a question. Let's go ahead and take a look. Thank you, Uday. So people are more worried about data. Where do you store your data in your cloud storage or Google Drive? I'm curious to know this because initially Coda asked me to access Drive. Great question. So why Coda is asking you to access Drive is for a couple reasons. The first is it allows you to then have your Google contacts as an easy share option. It also allows you to have, notice for the, let me actually show you again here. For this people column, it's pulling in the image as well as the email address here. That's also coming from Google Drive, so allowing you to have those different things there. I'll also, at the end, be more than happy to share with you our full details on how we handle GDPR and how we handle your data. But Google Drive is really just powering some of the collaboration aspects of the people and giving you access to them. Yeah, great question, Uday. Totally. All right, so this is really that core little part that powers everything else. So now we could go ahead and expand on this. And again, I've created those different pages and subpages over here on the left, and I've decided to have them show up here like buttons. And the way that I did that, if I just click that little shish kebab right on over here, I chose the size to be large, but I could make it medium, I could make it small. Either one of those are an option. In general, I just prefer the big one because I like that it looks like a button. It feels more clickable. It feels more app-like, but it's entirely up to you and how you want to handle it. Ooh, great question. What if you have more than one Google account? Well, it will connect Diane to whichever one you're using to authenticate in with Coda. So that'll be your starter point. Yeah, great question. Totally. And you can invite those other Google identities to it as a person if you like. Excellent. So the first step that I wanted to do when I was designing this doc is I wanted to streamline the ability for people to submit a project to be approved. Because if we're thinking about this project portfolio use case, we might want to have a little bit more oversight, particularly if we're in like an IT type of role or a larger project management role. So I created a page that allows people to submit a project for review. So let's take a look at how we put this together. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. The first thing I have is just a button that says submit a project. And if we right click on this button, we can see that what it's doing is it's adding a row to my projects to review table, which is this little guy right down here. And I've just opened the row for editing so that if I click on this button, it's going to pop open that row so I can take a look. I could then submit my super great project. I could then include which type of project it is, which is again pulling from that table we set up at the very beginning in the setup area. This is going to be infrastructure. And then I can choose the project owner, which is pulling from all of the people who are part of my Google instance. So this will be Maria Marquis. And then I could also include a link to the proposal. So this is actually a attachments field. So I could go ahead and choose to attach the proposal here by pulling from my computer and being able to have that there. So if we don't have the proposal in Coda, we can still attach it here using images or attachments. And then we've got this button to approve or reject. So that's the first part where folks can submit their projects. Now, myself, as the person who's reviewing all of these, I can go ahead and look through all of this. I could decide to review the proposal, and then I have the approve or reject button. The other thing I've done is I've kept comments on here. So maybe there's something more that I need from this person. What I could do is I could say at John, who maybe was our project owner, please add a bit more detail on your evaluation process before I can approve, or whatever I want it to be. Then I could send. We now have this comment thread. I could start a new thread here, however I like. And then if I reject it, what it does is it actually sends out a message. And if I approve it, it does the same thing, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Excellent. I see we got a question here. Let's take a look. Yes, I did say attachment. We are currently in a little bit of a sort of slower rollout, but it's something that's going to be available to everybody very shortly. Yes, I know. Very exciting. All right. So let's take a look at how these buttons are configured. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually switch this to a table view just so we can see it a little bit differently. So I'm going to go to my options here. We'll switch over to table just like so. All right. And let's go ahead and take a look at how this button is configured. So we go to our button options. So what this does is it's modifying the row in this particular table. So the row that the button is in by choosing this row, and we change the status to approved. Now we're then going to disable this if it's approved already so that we don't approve and approve and approve and approve. And this actually charges up an automation that I have going on. So if I press approve, now notice it's removed from this to triage view and we have that ability. So let's actually go over here to our little gear menu and our automations. So notice I have an automation for when a project is approved. If I click on that, let's take a look. So how this works is when the status in this project to review is changed, and in this case, I have the result to be to approved, then I'm running this action, which is I want to send an email to whoever the project owner is with the subject line, your project has been approved. And then the content here is just saying, hey, this project has been approved. You can now move forward with next steps. But I could include more details here, but I'm just having that flow happen. And again, this is just part of this doc, so you can go ahead and use it however you see fit. Excellent. We got another question here. Regarding approval, does it support group level approval and multi-level approval? So this would be something I think it's helpful to think about when we think about Coda, that it's not necessarily an out of the box project management tool. What Coda is a tool that allows you to build your own solution. So what you could do is you could have multiple buttons for each person. Like this is going to be the 1 approval and the 2 approval, and then I have to have 2 people in my approval column before I send it out. So that's certainly something possible. It would just be, it's not like I'm going to choose multi-approval from a box. It's I'm going to add multiple buttons to approve in that way. Yeah, great question, UJ. Oh, I love this, Mara. I would love to learn more about setting up alerts using the automation feature. In particular, I'm looking to get an alert when a row is added to a page and what was added. So Mara, you're bringing up a really good point, which is right now, automations only support row change and time for the trigger, which means it's a little bit more complicated. So as far as the row added, it is something we do want to add. It's just currently not part of our core at this point in time. But I think what I would do is I would include sort of a column that you wanted to have change, so that when someone adds a row and they make a change to a column, it could then send out an automation. That would be something I would recommend. But Mara, I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of the use case here, because I might be able to find like a way to make that happen. So if you let me know a little bit more about kind of the type of content that's changing in a row or the types of rows you're adding, I might be able to find kind of a roundabout solution. I'd also definitely recommend, if you haven't already, heading to the Coda community. There's tons of great folks out there who are finding great little approaches to making changes and things like that. Yeah. Oh, great question. Okay, so I love this. When a PM goes in and adds a project to their page. So if a PM goes in and adds a project to their page, let me just think through this. So we're going to be in building mode in real time here. So what I might do is, instead of doing sort of anytime a project is added, what I might do is I might just send a daily email to me of what that page looks like. And I might then include a formula of projects that were added this week. So that might be something you could do at the top. So you'd get kind of a daily digest. I might approach it in that way. Yeah, great idea. Also, the other thing I want to highlight here is that we have changed the display options here. So instead of having it be a table, I'm choosing this detailed kind of flip book type view. I like this anytime you need to do review process, because it puts the row details front and center, and you can just kind of click through all of them over here along the side. And you can also search up here at the top. So if you know you're looking for the new badging approach, there you go. It just makes it a little bit more easy to kind of flip through, triage in that way. So that's the first thing I decided to do. And again, you could make your submission process as detailed as you like, but in this case, I just did that simple approve or not, and moving forward in that way. So that's the first part. The next part of our project's interaction here, and let's actually just go ahead and open up to the side, is this idea of a template. So maybe when your project gets approved, maybe I want everybody to put together like a product design brief, or a mission or a charter, right? So what I could do is I could create a template of what I want every project charter to look like. And here's just one. Notice over along the side, we've got that outline like before. And this could then be something that folks could just go here, click the ... choose duplicate, and then be able to fill it out with all of their information, like we've seen here with Project Unicorn. So that's another way, again, that as someone who's overseeing it, you could then have this area of all of the charters for all of the projects, right? And have it all in one spot. So that's the kind of submission and then creation. They could then go off and create their own task tracker, which we could then, of course, link to this core larger project table here. So we have that button along the side. But now what we want to do is we want to be able to look at this information in different ways, because depending on what we're thinking about or what we need to know, we might need to visualize information differently, or maybe we just have different preferences. So this is why I've created this views area to kind of act as that dashboard for myself. So here what I've done is I've taken that core table of all of our projects, and I've just filtered it in different ways. So the first filter that I've created for myself is just, I want to see by the team. So maybe right now I'm only interested in seeing what the engineering team is working on. Or I could click on this little drop-down menu up at the top, and maybe I'm interested in both product and engineering. I could see them both if I wanted to. The next thing I've done is maybe I want to see this by project view, right? Maybe I want to know just by project manager, what's Maria working on? Or what is Polly Rose working on? So I can see it here. Oh, you know what? I love this, Uday, waiting for international support so people can use it in school and college to track progress of students. I am also looking forward to when we can have a fully localized experience because one of the things that I love about our Coda makers is that we actually are spread all over the world, which is something that's so exciting to me. And we're really excited to be able to offer more of that in the future. Mhm. So thinking about looking by project manager, something we can do, and then also by phase. So I want to see everything that's been launched, or maybe I want to see everything that's currently a risk, everything that's on hold. I could go ahead and do that here. Now, all of these are using the same logic, which is connecting a drop-down control to filter a table. So one of the things you can always do is you can just go ahead and click on the filter, and you'll want to just say, hey, I'm going to add a filter. You can choose any one of yours, and then you could say use as an interactive filter, and you could go ahead and have an existing control or create a net new one that automatically links it all together, which I love. That's my recommendation every time. But it's the same thing in each of these. And then the last bit is this My Projects. And this is actually one of my favorite ways to use our user formula. Here, if we go to the filter, it just says, hey, the owner is equal to the current user. And that'll automatically change whoever's looking at it. So this is just, again, a way for us to focus our attention so that what we're interested in, we can get to it right away. So again, you can make these views be whatever you like. But what we're doing here is we're just filtering out certain information that's not important to us. The next thing we might want to do is just to visualize this information in different ways. So we can make a view of any of our tables and then be able to just see it differently. So let's scroll to the top. Here I've got a Gantt chart, which is just one of our display options. So I can see based on the start and end dates, where are we with each of these? And notice if we hover over any of these, it gives us all of the information about this project. We can jump right to the project doc as well. I could see this in a calendar view as well, if I wanted to see it on a map in this case. And then we've got this dashboard down here of similar to what we did with the submitting projects. We're seeing it in that flipboard view. And we could go ahead and make as many of these as we like. The way that this works is if you want to add a new view of any of your information and see it in a different way, you can just type / and then choose whichever of the view options you like. So you could do cards, you could do just adding a new table if you wanted to, and then just choosing to make a new view if you like. So here we could say a new table or pull in any of our other ones over here, like all of our projects. And then we could just change the display options as far as how we want it to be visualized over here in the options, including things like a word cloud. Not sure if that'd be really valuable for project management, but you never know, charts and things like that. So it's a way for you to always have that grow and change. So as people require new things from you, you can always make new views instead of a new table that you then have to also update. The last thing that I thought would be really helpful for our project area is for people to flag a risk so that we, as someone who's managing kind of the portfolio, can understand where the risk's coming in. So it's a very simple interaction here where you choose to add a risk by clicking the button, and it adds a row to this little risk table down here. I can include the risk summary. Oh my gosh, we ran out of pizza, whatever it might be. I choose the project it's associated with. I can say what support I need. Please call Pizza Hut. And then I can also say, do we need an executive to support us? In this case, I could choose any of those executives right here. And then we have a little checkbox that says, hey, this is triaged or not. So the nice thing about the executive here is that we can then have them get notified by having this be a people column as well. So a way for us to just see all of the risks. So that's really the kind of understanding where everything is at. But we also know that when it comes to projects and portfolio management, that communication is just as important, if not more so. So I've built in some communication engines here as well. So if we click on our communications area, we could go ahead and see that I've created those 2 subpages that I could jump to. The first one is this review meeting. So here what we could do is we can just have this area where we can be typing our notes when we're reviewing kind of our project portfolio at that higher level. So you could import a Google Doc, or you could just copy meeting notes from somewhere, or you can just start typing them right here inside of Coda. So notice we've got some bullet lists. We're mentioning different projects, so we can pull to them wherever we need to. We have a little checklist down here at the bottom. We're also mentioning who was there. And notice what we've done is we've actually stored all of our past meetings here as well. So I could go ahead and expand and see what we talked about in the June 9th meeting rather, and the June 1st meeting too. And then when we're done with this June 16th, I could just click on the shish kebab right over on the side and choose collapse the content. So now we've got that there as well. So this is just like a rolling text field. And if you wanted to do my tip, you could go to the options, choose the outline, just like so. And now you could just jump to whichever meeting you wanted to go to very, very easily to be able to travel back to, oh, what did we talk about then as well? Now, this is just all text-based notes, but you could certainly put these inside of a table as well. One of the processes that we love is we love to have a table with the date of the meeting and then whatever was talked about and who was there. And then above the table, you can have kind of a raw note-taking field like we see here and just copy paste your notes in. Just makes it a little bit more structured if you want to be able to sort through it in a different way. But honestly, I think there's nothing wrong at all with just typing your notes in like just a basic old doc. Totally fine. Now, the last part of communication that I wanted to bring in here was this idea of an executive summary, because we all know that executives want to know what's going on, but they can't come to all the meetings, and they just want to know like what's really a requirement, what's going on. Just give me the too long didn't read, give me the bulleted list. So I've created an area that can act as our executive summary area. So what I could do is at the beginning of the month, I could type in some highlights. I could type in some lowlights. I could also mention projects. So like win more clients, launched today, or whatever I want to do. I can include the lowlights, just basic text. And then what I've done is I've created a couple different filtered views of our projects table. So this is just showing all of the projects that were launched. This is showing all of the projects on hold. This is showing all of the risks that need executive involvement. So here's that risk I just logged before, and I see it by Maria, by Al, by Laura. And then what I can do is I can actually push this button to just email this page out to everybody in this list. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've done here. So I've said use Gmail to send out to the executive sponsors' email addresses. The subject line will be project summary for executives, and the content is just everything on this page. So very simple button for me to push. And if I wanted to, over here on the side for my automations, I actually have the executive email automated too. So I want this to be sent out every Monday at 9 a.m. In this case, the action to run is sending that Gmail. So I could do this manual push, or I can also just send it out over here on the side. So a way for you to automate that communication process so you don't have to remember, oh crap, I was supposed to send that to the executives. What am I going to do? So all of that is just built in here. The last part of this doc that I just want to highlight is we've got this data area. So this is where we've got all of those tables that we're pulling in from. You could just, when you're done, go ahead and drag and drop your setup into this data area so that it's out of the way. And then you could go ahead and just click on the little dot, choose hide. And then those are hidden. And then when you go up to the locking options right over here, you could go ahead and say you don't want people to be able to see those hidden pages in this case. So you could go to this, I believe it's under settings, or this page potentially. It's in here somewhere. We moved it around recently, but allowing you to kind of keep that out of the way. All right, we got a question. Let's go ahead and take a look. How do we see the progress of an individual contributor? For a manager, it's hard to track the process of an individual developer during an appraisal cycle. Personally, I put all the tasks with a timeline to submit during the appraisal process. So my recommendation here, Uday, is what you're talking about is kind of the next level down, right? This is that project portfolio, right? What are all of the projects that we're currently working on? You would then have like another doc down for those core task management. You could have all the task management here, but I think that would just slow you down a little bit. What I would recommend to see the progress of an individual contributor is to have the task table with the tasks, the amount of effort for the task, and then who is it assigned to. And then what you'd be able to see, you could create a view which shows like all of the progress, like a chart of how many tasks for each person are not started, in process, and done. So that would allow you to kind of see that overarching task table by person. So let me actually show you an example. 1 second, let me just find this doc that I'm thinking about. I'm going to go to the gallery here. We've got a really interesting road mapping template that I really love. So give me just a moment while I pull this up. Just a moment. This was also built by my wonderful colleague, John, who has a really great approach to this. All right, let me just find this really quickly. Okay, great. This is the one that I want. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the link to this and we'll pop it in here. So you should be able to now see it. So how this product roadmap is done, it's just going to load here really quickly. Little hold music. All right, so how this is working, it's kind of similar. Well, we've got the projects that we're working on. And then what we have is the improving the UX. And then we also have the ability to assign work and then see our resource allocation. So here we're seeing by person, the start and the end date, and we're seeing how they're doing across all of their pieces. So what I will do is I will go ahead and copy paste this road mapping doc over there in the chat for you, Uday. That I think will help you get kind of close to what you're envisioning. So let me know if that seems like it might be an interesting place to start. All right. Nice, great. Glad to know that'll work out. All right, everybody. So that concludes the first part of our walkthrough, which is looking through this this project management for that enterprise level, looking at our portfolio. But the remaining time is entirely up to you and your questions. So if you want to see something again, if you're curious about anything Coda related, now is the time to ask. I will also go ahead and just pop that link to this doc again for our managing projects for the enterprise so that all of you can have access to it, make a copy. Again, when it comes to these Coda docs, these are just really starting places. And I encourage everybody, they are editable for a reason. So if you want to make changes, you should. It's about however you and your business, how you all get things done. So just because this is my starting point that I'm giving to you, don't feel like you need to stick with it forever. I encourage you, deeply encourage you to make those changes, to play around with it. And if you ever need support, you can always reach out to us by clicking the little question mark in the lower right of your Coda account or heading to the community at community.coda.io. Both are great places to get connected to folks who are ready and waiting to help with anything and everything that's on your mind. So let me know if there's anything else I can support you with today. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us, particularly those of you who are joining us outside of working hours. I appreciate you spending your morning or your evening with me. It's always a distinct pleasure. And let me know how I can be of support. I'm here to support you. I'm here to be of service. And let me know. I will not leave until you all get everything you need from today. All right, everybody, take care. I'm here if you need anything. And have a great time playing around. So glad it was informative, Uday. My pleasure. Yeah. Hopefully you have some things you can just start playing with now. Really starting to explore, pushing the boundaries, seeing what else you might want to add. That's really where it comes through. Excellent. Thanks, Robin. So good to have you back. Always a pleasure to see you, or see you, if you will. Oh, nice, Uday, using Coda for blogging. I love that because you can have a page for each article. That's a great opportunity to bring in the outline again. And then you can use it as a published doc. So you've got a really nice link right there. And then you can also get some analytics on that to see how many people are looking and how many people are copying as well. Great. Love that. Yeah. Oh, great. We got a question. Let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, any chance the attachment feature is something I can use in beta? Yeah, Diane, we do have a post on the community in the Coda news area where you can go ahead and get access to the beta of that. Yeah, great question. And it should be available very, very soon. Very excited about it. All right, any other lingering questions I can help with today, y'all? Ooh, perfect. I see another one coming through. Just a yay, thanks. So glad, Diane. A little bit of celebration. Fabulous. All right, y'all. Anything else that I can support you with today? Things on your mind, things you're curious about? Again, anything Coda related is fair game. Happy to help. All right. Fantastic. Well, have a wonderful rest of your week, everybody. I can't wait to see what kind of project portfolio management docs you put together. And remember, do not hesitate to get in touch with us I will put the link over there, community.coda.io. That's a gold mine of everything. We all hang out there a lot. There's tons of great conversations happening. And please share. Let us know what you're working on. Share your successes. Let us know. We love celebrating our makers, and it's always a pleasure. Ooh, one more question. Yes, Diane, the beta is in the community. So if you go to the news from Coda area, or if you just search attachments, you'll be able to join the beta. Yeah, we'll give you access there. Mhm. Excellent. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.